Welcome, everybody. This is the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley. Every week, we bring you the stories of people who are working to make the world a better place, locally, globally, and digitally. The Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley is part of Rotary International, over 1 million Rotarians and Rotaractors in 36,000 plus clubs around the world, all of which are dedicated to service above self, which we interpret in the space of how can we just make things better, locally, globally, digitally, like I said. So, with that, we look for stories of people doing really, really interesting things. And our paella master, Shag's way for the crowd. Good man. All right. Let me know just recently about the BEBOT and the work of the company that has launched this, which is EcoClean Solutions. This is the League to Save Lake Tahoe in collaboration with EcoClean Solutions. All kinds of cool things, details of which are far better coming from JT and JB, our speakers. Guys, we are so excited to have you with us for a program, and we hand the mic over to you. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Silicon Valley.
Thank you so much, and really appreciate the introduction, and most importantly, appreciate what you and all the other Rotarians do in the community, and service above self is definitely a theme that we love to adopt here at EcoClean. So we'll go ahead and jump into the presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions at the end of it. So real quick, everybody can see that all right? All right. So we'll jump into it. So my name is JT Chevallier. This is the founder, chief executive officer. I'm the co-founder and chief strategy officer for EcoClean Solutions. And today we're going to talk about our partnership with Keep Tahoe Blue to deploy the BEBOT solar-powered beach cleaning robot in the Lake Tahoe Basin, and kind of a future look as to where our 2024 goals are going. So a little bit of story, about EcoClean Solutions, and we'll just get this to the next page. Who are we? I mean, obviously, we just told you JT, JB. We're big fans of brevity. That's why we go by our initials. But more importantly, we are longtime friends that have known each other for over 25 years, with a passion for Lake Tahoe, but also a passion for the environment. And we created EcoClean Solutions to address the wide-ranging economical and environmental challenges that exist in some of the most naturally and culturally diverse locations in the world. We work with local agencies, nonprofits, businesses to execute environmental stewardship best practices, really with the main focus on trash mitigation, aquatic invasive species eradication, policy advocacy, outreach, and education. And our partners, which we wouldn't be able to do this without, Keep Tahoe Blue, really furthers our strategic goals, aligning the missions and funding to help Keep Tahoe Blue. And on the right, you can see that is the BEBOT that we'll be talking about today. And on the left is me, and on the right is JB. So the challenge, we love challenges. So how do we utilize and deploy emerging technologies in Lake Tahoe, and specifically on the beaches, to improve both the environment and the user experience? How do we prevent harmful micro and macroplastics from entering Lake Tahoe? How do we highlight the efforts land managers implement to help Keep Tahoe Blue? And how do we celebrate the importance of stewardship and leave no trace principles? And most importantly, which we feel is the biggest commodity that EcoClean Solutions produces, is how do we gather valuable data to assist in crafting policies and strategies to further the environmental goals and objectives in the region of Lake Tahoe? So the solution, the BEBOT. So the BEBOT, you can see right there, is a solar and battery powered beach sifting robot utilizing no emissions or petrochemicals in order to actually operate. And so you can see on the right-hand side, if you kind of split the BEBOT right down that picture, on the right-hand side is the sand sifting device, which you can see is a solar panel on top of it, which helps supplement the battery power. And on the left is the tank. The tank is really that driving mechanism that helps pull the sand sifting mechanism through the beach as it agitates and reaches down into the sand to clean the sand and to generate the results of the eradication and removal of plastics, inorganic debris, and other materials such as waste that shouldn't be in the beaches. So why BEBOT? Obviously there are existing large-scale beach cleaning operations in some of the municipalities in California. I mean, you can see those in, Santa Monica and the beaches of Santa Monica. But specifically, why BEBOT and why Lake Tahoe? The BEBOT's minimally invasive. So this beach cleaning technology only relies on solar and battery power. It does not release emissions, It's highly maneuverable, making it advantageous to mechanical beach cleaning in really tight and confined areas. And it is a visual reminder of the care and effort that businesses and municipalities put into the user experience. And BEBOT's expansion in media and exposure provides additional goodwill with the public. So BEBOT deployment 22-23 highlights. Obviously, that's a lot of information there on the left, but very high level. We've cleaned a lot of beach, since the deployment of this technology in 2022, which is the first pilot deployment, and extending to larger scale deployments in 2023. We've cleaned a significant amount of operational square footage in the Lake Tahoe Basin. And what that really allows us to do is focus on the 4 Ps of our company. And that's policy, pilot, proliferate, and promote. So we focus on piloting technologies that have an efficacy. We like to promote, obviously, what we're doing in the Lake Tahoe Basin. If we see a value and a result in what we're doing, we proliferate the use of that technology and expand it to other regions. And then, of course, we focus on policy advocacy in order to ensure that not only are we addressing this at the end point, but the starting point, which are the users generating that trash, that we can educate them on the issues that exist in our beaches. And on the right, you can see that is a before picture and an after picture of what it looks like after we've deployed the BEBOT beach cleaning robot. And one of the things we're most proud of is, most importantly, our partnership with Keep Tahoe Blue, but 2, the results. We're results driven. So in the last 2 years, in multiple pilot deployments, as well as a few full scale deployments, we've cleaned approximately over 10,000 pieces of trash and invasive organic debris from the shorelines of Lake Tahoe. And in addition to that, we've also identified new populations of Tahoe yellowcrest, which is a protected species stewarded by Keep Tahoe Blue and TRPA. And so by operating the BEBOT, not only are we generating real tactical results of removing that trash from the shorelines, but we're also generating data and information that our land managing agencies can use to further improve not only the user experience on the back end, but also focus on policy initiatives where we can try to mitigate those issues before they have a chance to reach our shorelines. Now, here it is. I mean, the results speak for themselves. So this is a full comprehensive beach cleaning. It's about 30,000 square feet. And this was our first private full-scale deployment at Tahoe Beach Club. And it really speaks to, doesn't really speak because a picture is worth 1,000 words. And you can really see that sand quality. You can see, how much efficacy is driven through that. But it's funny because this is really the last result that we're focused on. This is the aesthetics. What we're focused on is actually the results. So what are we pulling out of those beaches, and how can we define that trash and those characteristics? And the results speak for themselves. If you look at these 2 beaches, on the left is Sand Harbor State Park, one of the most visited state parks in the state of Nevada, and arguably the most visited beach in the Lake Tahoe Basin. And on the right is Nevada Beach, which is just north of the photo that we showed you earlier. Both, from a visual standpoint, look pristine and clean. But underneath the surface of the sand is an entirely different story. So on the left, you can see this is a results photo. This is a deployment of the BEBOT in a 5,000 square foot pilot area on that very same beach that you see on the right. And again, a picture is worth 1,000 words. You can see the amount of plastics that are generated on the top, but also there's a lot of other material that's generated that people might not think of, like my favorite, Band-Aids, or cigarette butts, or metal and glass pieces. And this exists between 1 and 4 inches below the surface of the sand. And the reason that we know that is the effective range of the BEBOT is between 1 and 4 inches below the surface of the sand. And so this tells a story, right? And the story is we have an ugly truth underneath the surface of our beaches. And this is the last stop before this material enters into the lake's actual environment and further breaks down and degrades into what we like to call microplastics. And the unfortunate truth is there really isn't a mechanism at this point in time deployed in the Lake Tahoe Basin that can actually remove microplastics from the lake. So by getting it at its last opportunity before it enters that lake's environment is truly critical to protecting Lake Tahoe's clarity and as well as the natural environment within Lake Tahoe. So continuing on, this is Nevada Beach. Again, view on the right, pristine looking pretty beach. View on the left, an entirely different story. And as you guys can tell, if we kind of throttle between the photos, there's different characterizations of trash in each shoreline. And what that relates to is multiple different factors, whether that be wind, tide, or also user-generated trash, so that we can take that characterization of trash and we can really try to define how to best mitigate each one of these sources at the source instead of at the endpoint. Again, results speaking for themselves, a little bit more blown up, but it gives you really a good breadth and idea of what we're collecting. This was a Zephyr Shoals cleanup, which you guys probably have actually seen Zephyr Shoals if you had followed the news media from the July 4th impact to Lake Tahoe where the shores were trashed. This is actually at that source where that trash happened. And we actually cleaned it the year before, and this is the material that we cleaned up on September 17th. And you see everything from trash to invasive species, etc. And it's catching on. You know, that's the beauty of us being in front of you guys today and being able to speak to the value of what the BEBOT is not only does it actually clean the beach, but it really generates an interest in what we are doing. And what we're doing is we're trying to rid the beaches of macroplastics, inorganic debris. And because of the BEBOT, its cool factor, we'll put it in quotes, cool factor, what it is able to do is it's really able to generate interest. And that interest is from an 80-year-old all the way down to a 4-year-old. And by generating that interest, you generate conversation. And what conversation leads you to is education. And what we're looking to do is educate the public. So by seeing the BEBOT proliferate through these multiple different medias, whether that be print, whether that be digital, we can see that it is catching on so that there is an interest in what we're doing. Now, looking forward, what do we want to do? Our 2024 goals are to expand our full-scale beach cleaning to all serviceable beaches in Lake Tahoe. We're actually really excited to announce that we just engaged into a 3-year partnership with the North Tahoe Community Alliance, and we'll be doing full-scale beach cleaning starting in 2024, extending through 2026. But we want to take that to every shoreline around the Lake Tahoe Basin. And we want to expand the BEBOT fleet. Currently, we have a fleet of 2. We would like to see that fleet expand to potentially 3 or 4, just so that we can continue to magnify the ability to clean as much beach as possible. We want to expand the service areas to all over Northern California and Nevada. Now, your guys' backyard of the Bay Area, Sonoma County, Central Coast, North Coast, Eastern Sierras, to where if there is a tactical deployment where the BEBOT could be either supplementary or complementary to an existing beach cleaning, whether that be human powered or larger scale mechanical beach cleaning, that we can fill those gaps and support that mission. And we want to expand sponsorship opportunities for businesses and NGOs. You know, all we like to do is magnify those that are doing the good work and sharing in our mission, just like Keep Tahoe Blue. And you can see on everything that we do, it's co-branded with Keep Tahoe Blue to further that mission. And we want to work with the tech sector to improve the BEBOT's efficacy. And I apologize, there's a little bit of a issue in there. Efficacy and operations, not 7 operations. But we really want to expand and understand, is there ways to take the BEBOT and to expand on it, to develop new technologies to apply with it, so that we can really have the best technology out there in the marketplace. And finally, that's JB, but that's most importantly, that's his son Asher. And we're not in it for us, we're in it for the future. You know, it's not our beach, it's not our lake, it's our turn to be stewards of this lake and of this beach. And most importantly, our partners. Our partners are critical to our mission, not only Keep Tahoe Blue, but Tahoe Keys Marina, some of our other smaller partners like Tahoe Beach Club, Arctic Electricians, that really allow us to take our mission and drive it home and try to create the most benefit possible in the shortest time possible. And finally is our tagline: stewardship, technology, and innovation. That is the focus and mission of our company. We want to be stewards to our environment. We want to deploy technologies that really have an opportunity to add on and create additional benefit. That's me telling us that we hit our 12-minute point. And we want to focus on innovation to make sure that we continue to innovate and not let things get stagnant. And that's our presentation. So we're happy to turn it right back over to you guys and answer any questions.
Thank you very much, guys. Let's do this real quick. We'll introduce the group that we've got. So here in California, in Walnut Creek, we've got Shags, our Club Paella master. In Fairfax, we've got Susan. Susan, thank you for joining us. In Houston, Texas, Judge Rory Olson. Good to see you, sir. And my name is Rushton. I'm in San Jose. I'd like to start with Susan, who has a question for you. So, Susan, go ahead and unmute and ask away.
Thank you. Could you describe how you work with the partners where the beaches are? So if like a Chamber of Commerce, Bolinas wants you to come, do they work out a negotiation of how to help pay for it, or do fundraisers, or how do you do that?
Absolutely. So we have multiple different opportunities for that type of, we'll call it a deployment or an activation. The first thing is to explain our deployments and activations with Keep Tahoe Blue is they're our NGO funding partner. And so what we're able to do is we're able to leverage that partnership because they're a 501c3 nonprofit with some of our land managing agencies. And what that really does is it opens you up to be able to secure grant funding, both federal, state, and local, for these types of activities. If we look at the infrastructure bill that just came out, if we look at SURF within California, there's a lot of funding coming in to the state and specifically, in destination stewardship. And so the best method that we have found is partnering with that nonprofit, leveraging that for a pilot deployment, and then expanding that pilot deployment into full-scale deployment. Now, that only gets you through the pilot phase. So once you've gotten through the pilot phase, then what you have to do is engage directly with that land managing agency. And either you can go sole source because of the uniqueness of your operation in that contract negotiation, or they go out to RFP and you bid on that RFP. The benefit and the position of EcoClean Solutions within the Lake Tahoe Basin is we're the only Tahoe Regional Planning Agency permitted mechanical beach cleaning operation. And the reason why that's important is the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, they are the authority on permitting all operations on a beach in the Lake Tahoe Basin. So that really kind of creates a uniqueness within us. Now, when we talk about outside of it, we also do direct service contracts. So we have a few private clients within the Lake Tahoe Basin, love having a clean beach, don't necessarily need to go through, basically the strategy of moving from public to nonprofit to private, and they'll just do direct service contracts with us. So we have a multiplier, which we understand the square footage of your beach. We add that multiplier to it. We understand what the cost is, and we'll do a direct contract with those entities. Now, for the other opportunity is a sponsorship of a beach cleaning. So kind of to your point, a Chamber of Commerce, a local nonprofit who might not necessarily have this larger scale view of beach cleaning, but maybe just wants to clean Stinson Beach or a portion of Stinson Beach, or a portion of another small beach location. Well, we can work with them, work with the permitting agencies like the California Coastal Commission or the local counties, and secure approval, and then work with you guys to say, this is the cost of that deployment. And then you guys can fund that deployment, and then we'll come and deploy. But we like to take care of all of the permitting, all of the regulatory compliance, really working with the partners. That's kind of like the IP that we have, is the ability to kind of take this mosaic and put it together to be able to activate projects. So it's really, we can curtail it to each specific entity's interest and what the outcome is desired.
Cool. Thanks, JT. So in thinking about getting a piece of equipment like this going, a couple of questions. One is, were there particular technical challenges that you ran into that you kind of weren't expecting as you developed the robot?
JB, I think this is perfect for you.
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely challenges involved with bringing the BEBOT. Just to be clear, we didn't develop the technology. We sourced it from a company in France. Strategically, we started the company in Lake Tahoe, not just because we live here, but it made the most sense because of the strict environmental regulations we experience in Tahoe. We felt as though if we could get over that high bar, meet those very high standards here and prove efficacy of this project, it would make it a lot easier to deploy in other areas, having already met those goals here. With that said, this technology wasn't specifically developed for this area. So there was a bit of a learning curve taking it from oceans, particularly in Florida, where it was primarily tested in the United States with that fine powdered sugar Caribbean sand, and bringing it up to Lake Tahoe, which is primarily decomposed granite. Like JT was saying earlier, trash, there's all different trash on all different beaches. They all have a different personality, but the sand is also, every beach has a different personality. So it was really kind of eye-opening deploying in this area. It was definitely a benefit to our manufacturers too, because we were able to push these machines to the limit and see if they were able to do what they really said they were going to do. The manufacturer of this company is new to the game as well. They've been around since about 2018. Our first BEBOT was purchased in 2020. So we're kind of growing together, and they've been incredibly receptive to our criticisms and our notes, let's be polite, about how they can improve these for the area and to be able to expand and deploy in larger scale.
And one kind of exciting, piece of information is, kind of that partnership has really grown because, we really rely on one another to be successful in the operation. And currently, as it stands in the world, with the BEBOTs that have been deployed, and there's ones that have been deployed UAE, deployments in South America, Europe, other regions, JB actually has more time in the operation of the BEBOT than anybody else in the world. And the benefit of that is when we call, they answer. And when we have opportunities for improvement within the technology, kind of harkening back to the tech sector, those recommendations are taken and put into practice. And do I see a future where the likelihood of our two companies intersecting happens on a much greater scale? Absolutely. Because let's just put it this way, we're typically the first call when they need any support as far as technical or regulatory support with any of the other partners that they work with.
So in talking about the things that that the BEBOTs in all these different places do, all right, they pull, ideally they're pulling up a lot of micro and microplastics, as you mentioned. You also talked about there being invasive organic debris. What is that? And can you help us kind of better understand, maybe the interesting elements of the robot with regard to not doing damage to certain kinds of life in these areas?
Yeah, and invasive organic debris is a nice way of saying trash. However, the way that we like to dichotomize it is we really like to break out each piece of trash into a characterization, right? Is it metals? Is it plastics? Is it Band-Aids? Is it rubber bands? And by really creating this category, which we've developed with Lake Tahoe Blue, because they are the authority on beach cleaning, hand-powered in the Lake Tahoe Basin and have been for decades, is we really utilize their characterizations when we do our characterizations of the trash that we find. So we're comparing apples to apples. And invasive organic debris would be things like Asian clamshells. So Asian clams, an invasive species in the Lake Tahoe Basin. The clam shells, due to wave action and wind, come onto the shore. We pick them up, we categorize them. But instead of just calling them trash, we want to understand what the characterization of that trash is. So it is an invasive species that is organic in nature and shouldn't be there. So that's kind of like the defining characteristics of an invasive organic. And there's also other things. We have curly-leaf pondweed, Eurasian water milfoil, which are typically aquatic species, much like the Asian clam. But what happens is when waves and wind bring this material onto the shoreline, it gets into the beach. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it will replicate in the beach and grow in the beach, but it can be really educational to understand if there is, let's say, a population of curly-leaf pondweed, Eurasian water milfoil, or Asian clams that are growing off the shoreline, and that material is being brought onto the shoreline, and we collect it. Well, we can go back to our partners like TRPA, Lake Tahoe Blue, saying, hey, I think you guys should pay additional attention to this specific area because we're pulling up a lot of that material. And the benefit of that is they can find those populations, eradicate those populations, because all it takes is one small little piece of Eurasian water milfoil or curly-leaf pondweed to generate an entirely new population. And those two plants are the single biggest threat to Lake Tahoe's clarity at this potential point in time.
All right. Well, I put these. I put the story of your work in front of a group of students to have them kind of respond. One of the things that a lot of them said was, is there a danger in people essentially seeing a robot handling trash and then feeling like it's okay to litter because there's a robot handling trash. There's a lot in the story that essentially bemoans the fact that that people litter as much as they do. How do you get to that point where you're educating the community about how not to produce so much litter?
Yeah, I'll take that one. What we're able to pull out of the beach is actually really, really eye-opening. The fact we're able to take beach cleaning from 2-dimensional clean the surface to 3-dimensional itself, like the sheer amount that we pull out when a beach looks clean is crazy. We typically operate out of the sight of the public unless we're doing a demonstration. Part of our permit is to not affect recreation. So when we're out there, people don't necessarily realize that we've been there, and we do all the back-end data collection. But what we like to do is display everything we pick up. And we do different events. We have what we like to call a trash cootery board we set up at our events. We found a big piece of driftwood. We put all the trash categorized out on it. And while we do run the risk of people relying on us to clean up after them, I think that's always going to be a risk no matter what sort of cleaning operation you have. But the results and the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. That opens people's eyes to mistreating nature and that they should be picking up after themselves.
Yeah, and kind of just to bookend that, when we talk about, one of our 4 Ps is policy. And so we work really closely with Lake Tahoe Blue, and a perfect example of that is last year, about right at this time, Lake Tahoe Blue was advocating for a plastic water bottle ban in South Lake Tahoe, the city of South Lake Tahoe. And so they asked us if we would attend a city council meeting. And I would say to the chagrin of my wife, I've kept every single piece of trash that we've ever collected because I like to utilize it to really communicate the value and vision of what we're doing. So I said, hey, you guys want me to come to the city council meeting? Well, I'm bringing trash. So I had a few Tupperware containers that were full of plastic water bottle caps, pieces of plastic water bottles, and just general pieces of plastic. We went up there in public comment during the item as it was being discussed. I took those out, put them on the dais, and I said, these are not in your beaches. These are not in your trash cans. They're not in your recycling. They are right here in front of your face. And it was because we removed them from your beach. But we're only as good as how much we can operate. And obviously the BEBOT is about the size of a golf cart. And so what it really takes is sound policy and courage to pass policy that can actually affect this at the source, right? In a perfect world, we put ourselves out of business. And based on our activism with Lake Tahoe Blue, we were actually successful in passing that plastic water bottle ban. So though I agree, yes, we shouldn't be the janitors of the do-nothings of this world. And if I could, hold their feet to the fire, it would be the greatest joy of my entire career. But all we can do is try to create enough, let's call it noise, around the issue that 1, our elected officials can stand behind it. 2, the staff can put together sound policy recommendations. 3, the public can understand, 1, that the issue does exist. 4, that we are doing something to address the issue. But 5, we are useless without all of those in concert working together. And so we constantly try to bang the drum. And that's why we focus on those 4 Ps to ensure that we're addressing the policy piece, but we're also addressing the end result. Because the unfortunate part is, and this is another real interesting thing is Lake Tahoe Blue does human-powered beach cleaning, right? Everybody volunteers, they get the pickers, they go out there, they collect the trash. And we've actually selected the 5,000 square foot test areas where we call it man versus machine. We send a group of human-powered beach cleaners out there, they pick that thing clean, it looks pristine. And then we'll run the BEBOT over it, and we'll pick up 30 times more trash. And so what that tells us is we have to be doing something, because doing nothing isn't getting us to the result that we need. And we've actually had tangible results with our first full-scale beach cleaning at Tahoe Beach Club. We cleaned it 3 times, and we had actually decreased basically the trash that we removed by 20 to 30% each cleaning, to where at the final end result, we had basically had a complete trash reduction of between 50 and 60% of the trash that existed in that beach. And finally, there is no actual standard that we've developed by mechanical beach cleaning, because there hasn't been mechanical beach cleaning that has ever happened in the Lake Tahoe Basin that's been permitted by the TRPA. So by us doing these initial cleanings, understanding what the base is, we can then clean to understand, are we making a dent in this? And we can say with great confidence that we are. But to back up to your point, yes, that is absolutely something that we need to understand. We can't be the janitors or, you know, the mothers and grandmothers of all the folks that are making the environment worse. But we can be the cheerleaders to say, this is a problem and we all need to be doing something to address it.
One last question before we wind down the recording. The BEBOT is a remote controlled device, right? So you have somebody, you know, making sure that you do this the way you want it done. Is there work being done to see if this can be a self-driven vehicle?
That's actually something that we're really excited to hopefully develop. You know, I think that the benefit of our location being so close to the tech sector, Silicon Valley, those that are, I would say, much more technically savvy than the two of us, although we like robots and playing around with them. We do want to look into LiDAR technology, deploying these technologies where they can be operated without human power. JB is actually the best operator of the BEBOT in the world as it stands right now, but I guarantee you, he doesn't want to be behind the controls 24/7. But we do have some other technologies that we'll be really excited to talk to you about in the future, some marina cleaning technologies. And those things specifically are LiDAR, are autonomous. And so do we see a future where there are autonomous BEBOTs? Absolutely. I have great confidence in that.
Well, fantastic. So let's wind things down. All of you who have joined us for this recording, thank you for taking your time to take in the stories that we are excited to share with people near and far. On our YouTube page, if you scroll down a bit, you will see the longer introduction of JT and JB, including links that you can follow to learn more. On our SiliconValleyRotary.com page, you can scroll up to get the bios and down to get to the links, and then a little further down to get to the forum, where we would love for you to share your thoughts on what you've seen in this program and in the other elements of the meeting, which you can always do in the week that the particular recording is our live one. So that particular week. As we always like to do, we hand it back to our speakers for a final word. So JT, JB, and anyone else for whom vowels are overrated. What is it that you'd like to leave our viewers with as they finish up the recording?
Maybe I'll lead off and I'll let JB put the lead guitar on there. You know, most importantly, you know, we align missions with what you guys do, service over self. We are dedicated to try to create as much good in this world at a time where that sometimes might be hard to find, and have an impact for the next generation. And we will take any phone call, any outreach, any opportunity to not only talk about the efforts that we put in to making Lake Tahoe, Northern California, the West Coast a better place, but also how we can continue to evangelize what all the other nonprofits and folks that are doing the good work behind the scenes put into what you all do. So truly, thank you.
Yes, and just a quick goodbye, a little note to leave you guys on. When we started EcoClean Solutions, it was to help create a balance to make tourism more sustainable. The Tahoe region lives and dies by the tourism dollar, and the way it was getting treated was really, really disappointing. And that's kind of the genesis of all of this. And we genuinely believe that true prosperity comes through sustainability.
Well, wonderful. Thank you both for your presentation, and everyone, we will see you next week.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you guys.